Well, now, world, it's your boy, the Toothless Wonder, coming back with another video, man. And I was just thinking, I'm gonna share with y'all my time in the dating world when I ended up dating a practitioner of witchcraft, tarot cards, crystals, palm reading, all that type of stuff, right? Say, God darn, Kyle, how that happened to you, Kyle? I'm finna explain it to you, right? I got stories for days and everything. Like, I be kind of oblivious, like, not oblivious, but, just kind of flojo with the flojo, how flojo, and then look back on it like, wow, like, I've had a lot of experiences, yo. Now, after my last show that passed away, I wasn't really in the mood, per se, for about a couple years. And then I said, man, let me get back out here. In an attempt to overwrite old memories with new ones. And that actually happened, but not in the way I was thinking. Not as far as like people placing things to kind of like put distance or overwrite a program on top of an old program that was very hurtful or whatever. But my experiences end up being spiritual, right? So back to the topic at hand. So, I'm working. Actually, it's funny. I got the people daggone shirt on. I usually shirts to go sleep in, but they gets no love from the kid. But anywho, so hold on one moment. I'm about to get myself together here. So look, so I guess I started August, whatever. And I'm bad with timelines. And I heard somebody else say this, like if you a CO who works in a jail or prison, you end up becoming almost as institutionalized as the people that you're, supervising to a degree. I noticed this in the treatment world in an inpatient 60-day rehab treatment center. And I just found it odd because my goal was always to kind of escape and never return. And because of my previous experiences, like in Baltimore, like I know how to like not get engulfed or wrapped up in stuff, or how not to take stuff personal, or how to detach so it don't fool with me because that's pertinent to my survival. You know what I'm saying? I think that's one of the reasons why I was able to navigate a very subtle minefield with relative grace. Uh, so unbeknownst to me, she starts working there maybe I don't know 3 months after me or something to that effect. So people come, people go. So I ain't tripping off of that. They harder, and I ain't real big on uh dating anybody I work with because maybe one day I'll tell y'all this story about when I was dating what ended up being the head monster and how that turned into a whole debacle, right? So time proceeds on. She starts working there. Now, Shawty got some yams, white girl. Shawty got some yams, but my eyes work. But it's not like, oh, I'm plotting or whatever the case may be. I just see it and do whatever I'm supposed to do, right? So, as we work together and as I climb up the ladder in this particular department, we're conversation. Now, when I start working there, I noticed two things. One, the clientele of the percentage of clients we service are 80% male, but the staff was 80% female. That was I noticed that off top. Like, where's all the men folk at around here to deal with these men? I think that might have been purposefully done under the unwatchful eye of the Jewish man leadership, aka teacup head. Anyway, so time proceed on. And then I noticed like the energy in the place was very dry because the actual building used to be a juvenile detention facility. And then they bought it and turned it into a rehab. So it does have that kind of mystique or that kind of vibration about it. So, I don't give it to them all at once, you know what I'm saying? I got slow cook you into my wild world, right? So eventually, I get comfortable with people, whatever. And then I put it on them. So I'm coming through the door making bird noise. You know what I mean? Just try to raise the vibration of the atmosphere, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, this serves business. But we can have some fun too. We can make this enjoyable. You know what I'm saying? We can learn some lessons. You know what I'm saying? With the kid in the building anyway. So we start working together, da da da. Ain't nothing about nothing at first. I speak to her for anything I tell her or whatever, whatever. Check on her, hey, you all right, woo, woo, woo. And I think one day I came to work and they said she had bought a horse. So she was actually working on a female one. So I went down there. I said, "Yo, you bought a horse?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Yo, that's dope." Because I actually like livestock and want to live more agriculture and so on and so forth. So I'm asking certain questions. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Then she tells me she lives in an RV. I'm like, "Oh snap!" Like kind of almost off the grid type living. She was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Ah, Joe, that's very interesting." So now I'm getting interested in the person. You know what I'm saying? Just talking wise, not no splacking type tip, nothing like that, right? So we're conversing. Now we're starting to talk about the stuff we see going on at the job, right? So then she proceeds to tell me that she was a former client there. So I said, oh wow, you know what I'm saying? She told me how she got hired and da da da. But then she proceeds to tell me, and she had like a lot of tattoos, which was kind of a turn off. So then she proceeds to tell me, no, that's what it was. We had one of them full moon ceremonies, which is translation for witchcraft ceremony, right? About a witchcraft woman. That's what I call her. So then she proceeds to tell me that when she was a client, she was the one who actually introduced the staff into the tarot card readings and so on and so forth, and they picked it up. So I'm like, darn, Joe. Now she had a decent disposition or whatever, but now I'm thinking, I'm like, you must got some power then on the left hand side of things. If you as a client comes into a establishment or rehab because your life has become unmanageable, and then you manage to influence a vast majority of the staff to practice witchcraft. Well, they probably don't know it as witchcraft, you know what I'm saying? But these tarot, like, you're the one who introduced that into the bed. I said, good God, boy, you dangerous, ain't you? She started laughing. I said, all right, whatever. But now I would end up talking to her about various other things because, like, she actually knew, like, in conversation, that black people are the scriptural Hebrews. Most people don't know that, especially not a white girl, and probably especially not someone who practiced witchcraft. So then I start asking her, like, and we're having like intellectual conversation at this point, which I'm one of them, what they call them, sapiosexuals. Like, you gotta turn my mind on, turn my meat on. You know what I'm saying? So so I'm like, well, how did you get into it? Whoop de whoop de whoop de whoop. And I'm gonna bring this full circle, based on the chain of events as they proceed down the timeline. So I forgot exactly what she told me. I'm like, so now I'm telling her, you know what I'm saying? Because she knew like certain Old Testament stuff and all that. So I'm like, yo, you knew like God outlawed that in the Old Testament, yo, and whoop de whoop de whoop. She's like, yeah, I know, and da da da. I was like, you ever thought about like letting that stuff go? Yeah, but do. Oh, okay, you know what I mean? Now, mind you, at nowhere in my mind am I in danger of being infected with any of this. Because now I walk the path, I kind of subconsciously and consciously know I'm protected. He didn't bring me all this way to fade me by y'all, and I see it. It's not like I don't see it and I'm in danger. You know what I'm saying? So I would talk to these witchcraft people, knowing it's not gonna work. And then they would make little jokes. I'm like, yo, you don't realize that stuff don't work on me, right? Okay, whatever. So time proceeds on, and then there was, I guess, there was some interest. I found the girl interesting. There's not a whole lot of people or females I enjoy talking to outside of sex. And if I don't enjoy talking to you, I want to have sex with you. But then she was telling me, she was in a complicated situation, which didn't really strike me any kind of way because here in Babylon, most females are in a complicated situation. 9 times out of 10, somebody hitting it, even if she's single. So I ain't take that no type of way. And then she was like, I would tell you, but you'd be surprised. I'm like, go ahead, tell me. I got inquisitive mind, you know what I'm saying? So then she proceeds to tell me, days later, it was Hop and Bob, Freaky Yo, I forgot what else I called her, yo. Mr. Bojangles. One of them Negroes who Bojangle for the white folk, but he tried to play tough with everybody else. But you kind of see through him. And he ended up being the freaky pervert man that had to run out of the town I grew up in. I said, God. So now I'm super inquisitive now. Cause I'm like, yo, how y'all get together? Because y'all seem like the odd couple. So she explains how they got together. She baited him in. I think Hop and Bob did tattoos too. So I'm like, oh, all right. Now I'm kind of blown away. Like, wow, that's an odd couple. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm finding this whole job interesting because I ain't really around people. I'm like the older person who just be calling the young folk and ask them about, what's going on in their life, and then they tell me that I'm blown away. Like, how you do that? You know what I'm saying? So, she would flirt or whatever. Just lighthearted flirting. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. But I ain't take none of it serious. And she would Hop and Bob. And I had a bad experience working with people or dealing with people I work with. So, I walks the fine line. I stays on the narrow path. And I'm talking about. Now, at this point, I'm starting to think about, and then not only that, but I started seeing the effect she had on the males, right? It was almost like she had them under her power, her control. And I told her that. I said, yo, is you casting spells on these dudes, yo? Yo, I was at the desk one day and so happened to be, and she was off to the side of me. The dude came through the door and he saw her. I saw him see her, and it looked like he literally floated over to the desk. I went and told, I said, yo, I thought, man, floated over here like your obedient servant, yo. I said, yo, you casting spells on it. No, I'm not. It's just, I said, if you not doing it, whatever is operating in you is doing it, yo. I said, yo, you gotta get rid of this shit, yo. You destroying these people, yo. Or having some type of spiritual power over these men, yo, on a Jezebel type of tip, yo. You got, nah, man, let them be free. You know what I'm saying? Don't do that to them, yo. She's like, yeah, you right. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. I'm like, yeah, I know I'm right. You know what I'm saying? But I think she was attempting to see if she could, get me under the wing. I'm tried and true on the battlefield, baby. So, lo and behold, time proceed off. She shows me, so I said something about, I said, you're acting just like you're almost like the temptress in here, right? Because then other staff members wanted her, and it was crazy. Like, the dude, Hop and Bob, he was sleeping with a counselor while she was there. I found this all out later. I'm like, God damn, everybody just need to go in the gym, put some black tape on the wall, and all y'all just plug each other up, yo. I used to tell them this. By this time, the break pads went. I just tell them, you crazy. No, I ain't. Y'all need to get this over with so we can go back to normal around here, yo. There was another, I guess, LBGTQ counselor. She was pressing down on her hard. I'm like, damn, Joe. I said, see how all this spiritual power, you know what I'm saying, on the left, see how it's been affecting you? I try to tell you, yo. Then I say she had I come to discover she was telling me she had a tattoo of temptress or something. But then here was crazy. She had got she tells me she got her nipples pierced. So I'm like, now mind you, I don't know her and Hop and Bob together at this point. So I was like, oh, did Hop and Bob do it? She's like, no. Then later on I discovered they was together. So I went back to her, I said, yo, when I asked you did Hop and Bob, you was repulsed like, no, he wouldn't touch my nipple, da da da. But ain't you with the man? What kind of shit is this? She was like, well, we don't sex and we don't do this. And I'm like, oh, all right. At least that's what you tell me, you know what I'm saying? You ain't got a lot of kick. I mean, I'm just being inquisitive, you know what I'm saying? But I'm like, if you don't like them, and you say he's sleeping with all your homegirls and he doing this, that, and the third, and you feel you deserve better, how can you say you deserve better if you're not willing to cut off that which isn't beneficial to you? Again, coming from my experience, if that's what you say. So she's like, oh yeah, and then come to find out, like, he had kind of bamboozled her to a degree, like he was living with her, and then he would do this one of these, like, I don't subscribe to this school of thought. Like, if you with me, I'm trying to uplift you. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily upgrade you, but you should, like, you to other people, it should, like, Cal, I'm a decent nigga. I'm not trying to get you under my on my line and then make you question yourself or beat down your self-worth so you're easily controllable. And that's the game Hop and Bob would run. When in reality, his situation was set up that he needed her because he was living with her and woo 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 woo, right? So I'm like, all right, cool. But the attraction is getting there. So I'm praying on this like for months. Like, Lord, at this point, I think I want to hit it, but she was Hop and Bob. No, that's against the rules. I don't get down like that. But I'm like, you know what I'm saying? But I do like talking to her. I do like being in her presence. Did she casting some spell? I don't know nothing about it. You know what I'm saying? Please let me know. You know what I'm saying? We'll pray about it for months, right? So then, what happened? So, we kicking it. She's flirting a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm telling her what I see of her person, which all ended up being true, right? So I'm like, you gotta let go of the. So now I guess I'm like Ringo. I'm testing her, right? So I'm like, yo, you gotta come over to the right side, at least try to attempt. So she come to work. Maybe I told her that, and she was like, yeah, Kat, I decided to, give up the tarot cards. I was like, you can't give it up. Like, you gotta get rid of all that stuff, like all that crystals and whatever else you got in your home or idols or what. You gotta get all that stuff out, yo. So she said she did, and she said she felt the presence of God. I said, yeah, that's cool, right? But that's not the end of it. This is like leaving the gang. If you give up all this stuff, the demons or whatever's attached to those idols, it's just not gonna say, okay, you free. Like, you're gonna go through deep spirit. Like, you might not be able to sleep, or you might get attacked, or You see what I'm saying? Shit might start falling apart because they try to pull you back onto the plantation, yo. Are you ready for this? She said, yeah, woo woo woo, right? So I said, okay. So I believed now she could have done it in my face and then held on to certain stuff, or I know sometimes like in these churches where they cast out demons, the actual dude is the actual posing Christian man is a witchcraft. So he's actually getting the demon to lay dormant, thinking the demon done left, but it's just laying dormant so they can bamboozle you greater later. So I say, all right. So mind you, now you know what I'm saying. I do want to hit this joint now. I'll be honest, because I feel, and it seemed like she wanted to be led, and she was taking my suggestions. You know what I'm saying? She was listening. She had some yams. I don't be splacking like that. So I was like, at first I'm like, man, it's tempting, and I want to do it. And I hadn't been messing with a woman that actually like dealing with, talking to, whatever, whatever. And when I weighed it all up on the scale, yeah, the witchcraft, she seemed like she getting rid of it, and I'll talk about that later. Um, but where she was at with it, as far as like beliefs and so on and so forth, um, I thought it could be conducive to where I was at with it, or what I'm attempting to try to do, right? So I'm like, man, it'd just be easier just not to fool with it. I ain't got to figure it out. It's just safer that way, da da da. But then on the flip side, I'm like, I kind of feel like I'd be a fool to not see and just have the ability to pull myself out if it go left. So that's what ended up happening. So I stick my foot in my mouth one day, right? We at the desk. Now, this is where keeping it real goes wrong. So now I pump fake. That's why you shouldn't pump fake like that, right? So she was like, we should go somewhere and whoop, whoop, whoop. So I'm like, yeah. But the only reason I said yeah is because up until that point, me and her had never been off on the same day. So so she was like, we should go somewhere or something. I said, yeah, we should go somewhere tomorrow. But the only reason I said that is because, like I said, we were never off on the same day. She was like, yeah, that's cool because I'm off too. In the back of my head, I said, I know you lying. She said, go look at the schedule. I looks at the schedule. I said, oh my damn, I done messed up. So now I done said it. So now I'm stuck to my word, right? So I'm like, all right. So I'm like, all right, you know what I'm saying? Woo woo, right? So I go book like a lodge way in West Virginia. You know what I'm saying? A spot I've been, well, not that spot, but a spot I've been to early in my recovery journey. And I like the scenery and take them out the way and woot the woot the woot. So we go against the lodge, you know, we do what grown folk do. We vibing, you know what I'm saying? It was cool. It was cool, you know what I'm saying? And the kid don't be like that, so I'm like, all right, whatever, you know what I'm saying? So, oh, before that, they did, you know, she did tell me they broke up. Then I gave it a period of time, you know what I'm saying, da da da, right? So that's when Hop and Bob, I think I told you about that when Hop and Bob, and I just told him, and woo 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 woo, right? So I gets up out of Dodge, she's still working there. So I guess she left, but then everybody was like, "Oh, you took that man's wife and took that man's job, and then y'all leave the job. You terrible." Whoop whoop. I said, "No, I'm not. I ain't tell that woman to do that. She did it on her own accord." So we goes down to Ocean City. This is like off season, so ain't nobody really down there. And she throws her, you know, witchcraft board or whatever you call it, tarot card board in the ocean, and everything cool, copacetic. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm advising her. And now I had a new job at that point. Cause I keep my campaign rolling the best of my ability. So I'm just advising her how she should carry whatever. But I remember telling her this, cause that's what it seemed like. She worked a lot, so I'm like, yeah, ain't nothing wrong with that. But a lot of times in that whole recovery thing, a lot of times we'll do various activities so that we don't have to deal with ourselves. So I'm like, because you have all this free time, you really need to deal with certain stuff you haven't dealt with. Because if you don't deal with it, it ain't gonna do nothing but turn around and hawk you down at some point. So no, I was still at the job then, and we were real like it was real chaotic that night for whatever reason. And she calls me, but I couldn't answer the phone call. I was busy tending to the folk. So she calls me and then says, you know, I went and bought some drugs. You supposed to be house cleaning up and doing. How you buy drugs, yo? So then, when I did get time, she tells me she called the other coworker. Me and her were hired on the same day, and said she bought drugs and then videotaped herself flushing them down. So I'm like, why the hell you do that? She couldn't answer. That was them demons. You know what I'm saying? They by yourself. They beating you up in your head, and then you can't tell me as to why you did it. I said, oh, all right. You know what I'm saying? But okay, now, now, now I'm looking at the front door. ooh. But I don't want to just be one of them brother, oh, you mess up or oh, you do something and I just don't know you. Like, I'm perfect. You know what I'm saying? So, I left the job, whatever. But now I'm noticing changes in her behavior. Like, what she's saying and what she's doing ain't matching up. So I'm taking mental note of, like, all right. So she was supposed to come get me one night, but she never can. So now I feel like you wasting my time or you testing me. So I'm like, all right, here. So I recognize the game, right? But then I wake up the next morning, I say, yo, something happened, yo. So I call, I don't get no message. So I'm like, it had some other stuff to do. But this feeling was on me so much. I said, yo, let me. So I rode my bike. I ain't had no car back then. I rode my bike down to the water, and I'm just marinating on it. I said, yo, I think Shawty dead, yo. Which would have been the second time this happened to me. So I'm like, I just can't shake this feeling, yo. I don't hear from like 3 days. Then she calls me and says she just got out the hospital. She collapsed, almost died. Da, da, da. Come to find out, she actually relapsed at that point. So I go see her. She got all these bruises on. I'm like, where these bruises come from? She was like, oh, they were pumping on me to get me to breathe again. So I'm like, all right, cool. So we chill like 3, 4 days, you know what I'm saying? Not thinking nothing of it, but I'm taking a mental snapshot, right? Um, then how did I discover it? Oh, so here's the gift of foreshadowing. So I ran into another client. I was on my way down to the YMCA on the bicycle and ran into a former client. He had got out. So me and him chopping it up on the side of the road. And then he's like, yeah, I heard just relapse. So I was like, oh yeah, man, you can't believe everything you hear, whatever. She had relapsed at this point. I just didn't know. So I'm like, okay, you know what I mean, whoop, 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 right? So I'm talking to him, boom, prop. So then, eventually, she just comes out and tells me, oh, I'm hearing it from other people. Like, she didn't leave the job. Like, they seen signs of it, because I left before her. She had realized, whoop, whoop, whoop. So now I'm like, all right, well, she don't come out and tell me. And I ain't really holding to that, shameful, whatever. So I'm like, look, Charlotte, I know you getting down with the get down. What you gonna do about it? Because I don't want to be one of them type cats like, oh, you mess up or do, like, outside of, like, being with somebody else or something. And you do that or whatever. Okay, so how we gonna solve this? Like, you probably gonna have to go back in, right? So she like, yeah. So I'm like, all right, well, what's your plan? She tell me, I'm like, all right, if that's the case, I'll support you. Not because, like, I want to keep hitting it, but I've dealt with you personally. So I kind of feel a certain duty to at least try to make sure you straight. You know what I'm saying? And what was happening too, and I've covered this in other videos where, she's in early recovery, before I met her. And people are supportive. But then when she started working at the job and she got some yam, now the same support you used to have from people, once you're on the same level of them, they start looking at you as competition. So it was all this catty, girly stuff going on at the job. And I was having to manage all the chickens and whatnot, you know what I'm saying? Which is very vexing. It was so crazy. I told my mom, it was like, how you try to keep the fox out the hen house? But where I was at, where all this dark spiritual energies operate, it was like trying to keep the hens out the fox house because the hens was effing up the foxes on King David. So time proceeds on. So she got somewhere, and then she said she left. So I'm like, okay. And she gave me a cockamamie reason. She was supposed to get in somewhere, and then she called me. And then said they put her out on a Sunday because of her insurance. I'm like, they ain't gonna do that. But I'm just, okay, if that's what you say. But I know better though. So now, like, the image or the idea that, like, the person who I end up dealing with is now changing. So this person I don't recognize. You know what I'm saying? So last ditch ever, I said, yo, Shawty. So I tried to get her into the women's program in Baltimore. That didn't work. But later on, a coworker called me. She reached out to them to reach out to me because I had a new phone by this point. And let them know I'm in rehab. So I'm like, all right, that's what's up. But I ain't real keen on dealing with you. Not because of, like, anything personal. Like, I just want to see how you fare. I want to see if you actually work on your demons. Not just those witchcraft ones, but the ones you've never dealt with from childhood or whatever the case may be. So she ends up, okay, no, let me backtrack slightly. So during the period of her relapse, now she's telling me these various stories. And in these stories, like, she's facing death. Like she said, now I'm not sure it is, but she said she got tapped by a Doug. The Doug almost killed her. She was somewhere, whatever, and the dude don't beat her up and all this stuff. So I'm like, damn, Shawty. Now, mind you, when I met her, or at least towards me, she was very feminine. But now, when I'm talking, you kind of sound like, you know what I'm saying, you out that mob, or You know what I'm saying? You a female member of the blood set or something. I'm like, who the fuck is I'm talking to, yo? I'm like, damn, this is terrible, yo. So I'm like, and then I'm like, because of the witchcraft stuff, I'm like, do you realize how much death you're around? So here's was the last kicker though, right? Um, she actually got into Baltimore, called and asked me could I take her to court, down by where I live at. So I'm like, no, you did it. You found your way out of it. Plus, now at this point, I don't know what you're engaged in when I'm not around. So I don't know what you engaged in on, you know what I'm saying? So in wisdom, I'm not fooling with you. You know what I'm saying? Because you ain't going to get me laid out here. I'm riding in your car and you done did something and now I get my muffin cap peeled back blue. And you know how that go. First thing they say, Cal fucking with the white girl. You know how that go, right? So I'm like, well, why you got to go to court? She proceeds to tell me that um, her car got impounded and they searched it or something. Then later on, they came back with some type of investigation that she got to go to court for because they found a girl's purse in her trunk, and this said girl was found floating in the river. Oh no, no, I ain't fooling with that. Ain't that much sport in the world. Like I say, the brother card only go but so far. Oh no, after that I was like, ain't no more helping this girl. She just gonna have to like I got taught in Baltimore. You just got to feel the pain. That's the only thing gonna change you if it change you. But when I was talking to her, and then she hit me with this mood. Then she called me back and was like, her aunt had died in Ohio. She wants to go to the funeral. So I'm telling her she just got into rehab. I said, if she was alive, she'd tell you stay where you at and woot the woot the woot. But that was just a ploy just to get back out of it. And the last time I actually talked to her, before I finally blocked her, she had sent me a picture of like the terrain when we was on our way to West Virginia or whatever. So that let me know she left the rehab, and that let me know ain't no sense of talking to her. But here's the tripping part, and now this is why I'm starting to think when SRBG was talking about like Masonic type of families and they line people up or they sacrifice their bloodline. So she was like, it was my favorite aunt. She lived a similar type of lifestyle, so she understood me. I get that. But come to find out, and then she shows me the news article through inbox in which her favorite aunt was in Ohio, and she barely no, she didn't survive. She survived initially, but then she died later on, or a few days later, because someone or individuals ran into her home, beat her up, tortured her, and put her in like a suitcase and left her like in a field somewhere. So I'm like, damn, why the hell would somebody do that to your auntie? And then she proceeds to tell, well, she changed her life later on, but she said before she changed her life, she was down with some nefarious characters and she was involved in human trafficking. And that's the aunt you want to go see. And you just been around all this death. Nah, that's it. That's it. That's over. So I cut it off completely. All line of communication. Oh yeah. I had other people like contact me. I blocked, or she would use a third party. I blocked them. I don't know them. No, that's too much death, yo. I'm trying to live, baby. And obviously, you keep finding yourself in these situations. It's not like these people coming to you. You going to them. This must be what you want. And it was sad though, bro, because I seen the light go out of her eyes. Or I know Satan, presents itself as an angel of light. So it could have been a masquerade. However, I feel, good about the fact that I dodged that particular situation with the grace and the protection of the Most High. Because I know in those types, they try to like sacrifice or line up the good one. That's why I end up leaving the job. Because I was like, yo, I think they're going to try to set me up in here, yo. Ain't nobody finna set me up. So maybe a month or so ago, like she had reached out through third party. I just blocked them. So she sent me a friend request on Facebook. Now, mind you, I ain't talked to her in about a year. I don't know why these people I cut off start reaching back to me after about a year, yeah. Like I said, my right hand man hit me out of nowhere a year later after I cut him off and asked for $50 on Cash App. I felt disrespected, yo. And at no point in time do they come clean about what was going, just being contrite. That ain't nowhere in there in them. So she had sent me a friend request on Facebook. I looks at Shawty's picture, yo. It looked like her, But I don't recognize her, if that make any sense. She got she done got a tattoo across her throat, a black eye on, black heart over her eye. I said, damn, shawty. Like her hair black, you know what I'm saying? I said, damn, shawty, but what Satan done did to you? You know what I mean? Shit was wild, Joe. So I cut that John off. I said, nah, I'm good. And then I know, like, when females start getting all them tattoos, they just basically marking their trauma. But that's just a quick story about how I was dealing with a practitioner of witchcraft. I'ma holler at y'all, man. Cover your six out, y'all. It's a minefield, baby. Ooh, ah. You be all right, you tough, right?